I have to ask you this question. Do any of you here admit to being geeks? Yeah? I do. I mean, especially the women. I mean, God, I'm a geek. I've been a geek forever, I think. It was always the joke in our Channel 13 newsroom as I was the first to replace a two-way radio with a car phone. It was pretty big, but I did it. To replace a pager with a PDA, I took it to our IT guy and I said, hey, you can route my internet. You can route my mailbox into this little thing. And he goes, get out of here. Didn't believe me. And very early on, I got rid of my paper notebook and started carrying around a laptop. In fact, I was using one in the ABC commissary at the 1988 Democratic Presidential Convention. And no less than Peter Jennings came strolling in to have a biscuit, as he said. It was a cookie. And he sat down with me because I had this contraption on my lap. It was a Radio Shack laptop. The thing was so heavy, and it didn't do a whole lot. But I decided then it's not a bad way to pick up guys, especially Peter Jennings. So it's not so bad being a geek. And you know, all women know that the best things come in small boxes, right? All that bling, bling stuff. But when I saw big boxes backstage yesterday, and I found out that they contained Microsoft's Surface computer, they had to hold me down. It was really something. Pete Thompson is the guy who holds the key to that particular magic box. And he is a road warrior, literally, of high tech, a marketer, a presenter, of everything from hi-fi, cell phone technology, different companies. He's only joined Microsoft, I guess, in 2006. But one of my favorite products that he used to push was Levi Dockers. Every geek needs a pair, don't you know? You might say that Pete Thompson has a nose for innovation, and wait until we all get a look at what he is nosing out for us today. Please welcome Pete Thompson with the innovation from Microsoft.
Thank you, Shara. I've never been introduced as a geek before, so that's new. But, and yes, my background started out with actually coming up with new categories like Levi's Docker. So I'm a little new and unique to Microsoft, but it's also where Microsoft is going. And what I want to share with you guys today is a whole new type of computer that we think is going to drive a whole new revolution in computing. And I actually think it's tied a lot to the themes that we've been hearing this morning. So first of all, I should let you know it's a global development product. It was developed by people in China. It was developed by people in Germany, people in Japan, and a lot of people in the U.S., up in Washington, where Microsoft is located. India, not yet, but I will tell you we're looking at that as well. So that's interesting. The second thing is inventing and coming up with a whole new computer from the ground up is very stressful. So I've learned today that either I need to go jogging right after this or I'm going to hit that waterfall very quickly. The third thing is I'm going to take you back to the future, because one of the things about Surface is that it actually goes back to the analog world. And it actually it's changing computers to actually harness digital, but actually bring back the power of all the physical world that we're used to. And I'm going to talk to you about that. I think that's very interesting to the discussion we had about books and music. We shouldn't walk away from things that we're used to for thousands of years. And to be able to connect those senses and those things that we've done for literally hundreds and thousands of years, we shouldn't walk away from that. We should make computers work for us. And then the last thing is, this is all about imagination. When you see the possibilities with this, and it immediately, I believe you're going to move into brainstorm mode. It's what happens every time. And so it's one of the things that's so passionate and exciting for the whole team that's working on this is the energy and the ability that we can just really do completely new things. So I want to share that with you. You know, 30 years ago, Bill Gates had a vision for Microsoft, put a PC on every desktop. And in a lot of ways, we have realized that. That vision, though, is expanding now. And now it's coming to every desktop becomes the PC. And over time, it's not just going to be every desktop. It's going to be every counter, every countertop, every surface. And so we think in order to realize that vision, it requires a whole new type of computer, and what we're calling a Surface computer. And this isn't science fiction. You will conjure up images of Minority Report. We already heard that earlier this morning. This is real. This is not science fiction. It's going to launch this year. In fact, you will see it initially this spring in hotels, restaurants, entertainment venues. So think of the first places you saw plasma TVs, where the consumers got a chance to interact with it. You'll see those in a lot of public locations, and you'll see Surface there. Before I jump into giving you the demonstration, which is underneath this, sort of like a magician's box, the way they set this up, I want to tell you the story, just a very quick story, the story of Surface. Because when I came to Microsoft a couple of years ago, I expected huge company, and it is a big company. But at the same time, there are little startups within Microsoft, and this was one of them. And so I think it's very helpful to understand how some innovation happens in big companies like Microsoft. So this whole idea started with a handful of people back in 2001, so 6 years ago. And what they did is they had a brainstorming session where they had this goal of how do we make computers more accessible. So they came up with the idea of let's combine two worlds. Let's combine the physical world, stuff we're used to doing, gestures, interacting with physical objects, things for thousands of years, with the digital world and get the benefits of both. And so they came up with this idea, and actually I'm going to show you. So Microsoft is big on intellectual property, right? So anytime you do a napkin drawing, you have to digitize it. So this group had this brainstorming session. And this is actually the napkin drawing that was the proverbial napkin drawing that was digitized. And you can see it's a very simple drawing, but the idea was, you can almost call this a social computer too. We thought about that as well. But you can see it's simple, it's easy, and it's fun. And I'm going to show you from these beginnings where it's gotten to over the last 6 years. I'll leave this up while I'm talking. So anyway, this handful of people didn't really have any budget. This was all their night job. And they actually, believe it or not, this was like a garage startup. They built the first units in their garages. And what they did is they went to IKEA, and we still have these prototypes, and they took a hacksaw, cut into the middle of it, and then jumped in, put in some PC components, put in cameras and some other stuff, and then put it together with duct tape. And that was the first versions to show the concept. In fact, there's a great story, again, before I joined, of these guys carrying this thing very carefully. It was actually about 150 pounds. So with a few of them, carrying it over to Building 34, which is where Bill has his office, to show it to him, to get to the next level of funding. They did, and some of the first prototypes were built then using real factories and stuff. And the first version was so big, we actually affectionately called it the bathtub. So we've made a lot of progress since then. We still have that unit. It actually sits in our lobby now. But a lot of progress that we've made. So from the beginnings of the napkin drawing, what I'd like to do is now share with you what we'll be launching this year. So again, immediately you should start to see that it's a whole different form factor. So the hardware is very different. There's no top or bottom, which causes all kinds of design challenges. But the idea is this is like a tabletop. The other thing is the software layer had to be completely changed. So we think this is as big a change as going from DOS to GUI, which started a whole new revolution. We think this is as big as going from GUI to what we're calling NUI, or the natural user interface. So you have brand new hardware, bottoms-up build, and you have a whole new software layer on top. But the idea is you just walk in, hopefully we can get this on screen, but you just interact with it. And it reacts the way you expect to. And so this is just a simple screensaver, but it gives you sometimes if you hit it, you actually get the water moving. You get the sense that you're actually able to have a very immersive experience. You can just reach out and touch it. I'm going to show you about 3 or 4 just simple demo apps to give you an idea of what's unique about Surface. So I'm not an artist, and I'm going to do a very simple paint drawing, but it'll demonstrate some of the capabilities that we think are unique here. The first thing is what we call, there's 4. The first thing is direct interaction. So the idea is I can just reach over, touch my finger in paint, like finger painting, and I can just go ahead and start painting. Okay? Just reach out and touch the screen, and there's no 90-degree rules or anything like that. And there's no sequencing of how you have to do it. You don't see any file menus. So the idea is very clean surface top. Draw a couple eyes here. I told you I'm not a good artist, so bear with me here. They made me practice this. That's really sad. So there we got a face. So the second thing is multi-touch. We've all heard about multi-touch this last year, and it's great because there's a lot of companies starting to embrace this. But this is unique multi-touch. I call this massive multi-touch, and the reason is because the real benefit of multi-touch is when you can start interacting with it on a large display and have multiple people interacting at the same time. So with multi-touch, I can come up and I can just get involved, and all my fingers can get involved in this, as well as other people at the same time. It's actually optimized for up to 52 simultaneous touch points. I'll let you guys try to guess as to where that came from. It actually comes from a poker game when the initial guys were having to set some design targets. But the nice thing, so the third thing, though, is you go for multi-touch, you want to do it with other people, so multi-user. And the idea of this is supposed to be very social. You should be able to walk up to this from any direction, and it should orient itself or work with you as though that's the right orientation. So we have a design philosophy called 360-degree UI, which means, again, the software should work for you or for the group of people interacting, which is pretty interesting if you think about it. It leads to a computer that shares, which brings up all kinds of interesting software challenges. There's no mouse, no keyboard. Think of having multiple mice on a computer screen. That's sort of what we've had to deal with in terms of the challenges. The last one is the most interesting to me, and this is where the analog world really comes back. So it's called object recognition. There's actually cameras inside of this that are actually seeing what's happening on the surface. So what that means is the display actually can be bidirectional. And what I mean by that is it's actually the output, just like you'd see a regular TV screen or a computer screen. It's also the input. And so you have this layer that's actually doing both things, which is really a unique thing, and that's what took us a lot of years to get it right. So I can just take a regular paintbrush, dip it in the paint, and again, it sees it. There's no electronics on here. This is purely being able to interact with everyday objects. And we think that the power of this platform, I think, is just stunning in terms of what you can do with it if you start thinking about merging these two worlds. You can also take just objects through a simple barcode system and have them react different ways. So think about grabbing simple things around your house. You could, one of the developers made a pinball game where you just take any objects, place them around, and they become the bumpers. So this very interesting ideas of where, these are simple applications, but think about where this could go in a lot of different industries. Okay, get out of the paint one quickly. So let me show something a little bit more. I know there's a wine critic that's going to be talking later, so this is dangerous, but I'm going to show you a wine application. And again, so this is where some of the first scenarios that we believe and our partners are working on that they're going to be deploying this spring. So imagine that you're in a wine bar or a restaurant, and right now you're given this very fancy wine book to pick the wine. It's very intimidating if you don't know wine very well, and it's very isolating. It's really one person at the table is having that experience. What if you could level the playing field and bring technology from out of the corner of the room and put it into the center of the room and have it be part of the table experience and allow everybody to search and explore wine without having this sort of barrier? So here I just go out and I touch surface, and up comes, and multiple people could do this, and up comes a wine search. And so I can just scroll through these. Let me make sure you guys are okay. Yep, okay. I can also, if I don't know too much, maybe I know that I like low acidity in wine, so it rechanges the search. I can pick different types of wines. I can learn about them. I can see how other customers in the restaurant, what they thought. So think of all the social networking and Web 2.0 stuff happening on the internet. What if you took that into a restaurant and everybody could at the same time talk about if they like that salmon that's being pushed as the main course or a bottle of wine? Interesting. Brings up some interesting dynamics. But here I'm going to order the wine, and up comes my virtual coaster. And so now I'm going to take some wine, which I don't think is actual wine, but I'm going to put it down, and it knows what the wine is. Now, instead of just having a simple analog or physical glass of wine, I can have this rich, deep internet digitized experience. And so I've got these little cards here. I can take them out. I can look at them. I can get a sense for what they're recommending goes well with this wine. I can also learn, one interesting thing would be to learn about, I want to actually see the vineyard. where this wine comes from. So I can take the glass off, I can move the cards around, you can search on the internet, you can go look, you can imagine, a video playing at the winery to see how it's built. So again, you have this huge experience that you can't have today. I'm going to put that back in. Another thing that you could do is imagine that you want to rate it. So right here within the restaurant, I have a little rating button that I can go back forth. And then the last thing is, and again, this is a demo. Our partners are working on the specific applications for this. How many times have you had a glass of wine at a friend's house or at a restaurant and you try to remember, you scribble something down on your napkin or whatever, and you lose it by the time you get home? Wouldn't it be great just to send yourself a quick email and with all that rich information about the wine? So again, this is a great opportunity to be able to show how this might transform just a simple restaurant or wine experience. Let's see here. Okay, so for this next one, I'm actually going to do something I've always wanted to do. And we still have a little bit of time. I'd love to have somebody come up. Photos is something that, I think we all had shoeboxes of analog photos, right? And now we have shoeboxes of digital photos because they're basically locked in our PC and it's hard to interact with them. Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
Savannah.
Savannah? Okay, come on over, Savannah. Okay, so please welcome Savannah. So let's assume that Savannah and I we finished the show and we went back to a Sheraton hotel lobby. And Sheraton's one of our partners. They're going to be deploying applications like this spring. And we have our hotel key. We put it down. It recognizes it again, and up comes some stacks of photos that are tied to our account. So now I can touch the photos, and up come the photos, and we can interact together just like we are sitting at a table. Go ahead and touch the photos and move them around. You can be a screen hog if you want. All the normal challenges you have with sharing, and you can get a sense for being able to move around. And it's not just photos. I'm going to switch to a different stack here in a second. You can also do video. So again, think of these as any container of what might be a web. We could be looking at different web browsers. We could be looking at books, all kinds of different things that you could do. And we could also be, because of the large surface area, we can be doing it at the same time. So pretty interesting. What's more interesting, though, is, hold on one second, Savannah, is when we personalize it. So I've got a little digital camera here. Do you mind taking pictures? Okay. Would you take a couple pictures? I don't know if it's going to work, but take a couple pictures of the audience, and then you got to push it down and hold it a little bit so it focuses. All right, everybody's smiling. You guys are going to end up on YouTube, so you might as well smile. All right, and then let me take a picture of you, if you don't mind. Oh, perfect. Okay, so this is supposed to be easy, fun, and simple, right? And so imagine a way. So this has got Wi-Fi built into this digital camera. And so what's exciting and what we wanted, now you could put a memory card and still have that interface experience, but wouldn't it be great just to take this camera, put it down on the surface, it recognizes it, and up come the photos. This is the kind of thing my mom can do. So let's see here. So I'm not sure. You guys, it's too dark. Okay, but Savannah, we can look at you, just what you wanted, right? Huge picture of Savannah. So we've got a buddy, let's say we have a friend, Tom, that we want to send this to. So again, when I want a menu, it appears, and we're going to make a postcard. So now you're in shiny lights. And we could look at different postcard templates. Let's say we're happy with this one. I flip it over. I can write, again, hi, Tom, because they're in my live account here. Send it off, and off it goes. So these are the kinds of experiences that we're going to see with some of our partners starting this spring. So thank you very much, Savannah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, so this is really just the beginning of this thing. I think, I've shown some very simple applications. Some of our partners are working on much more complex stuff that gets very involved and very interesting, and you're going to start to see that this year. One of the things I've just loved about being in this group and running this division is the passion and the energy I see on the team. As, again, I mentioned, everybody moves into brainstorming mode, and the employees on my group all have a passion for why they joined Surface. We have a monthly all-hands team meeting, and I ask, or I offer, if they want to, the new employees to get up and talk about why they joined the team and what they want to do, what's their best Surface application that they want to see. And it's really interesting to get. I love to hear all the answers. Somebody wants it to be the best poker game you can imagine, and we do have partners in that space. Somebody wanted it to be the best TV remote control and DVR. So you can imagine this in your house, taking over your coffee table. What are some of the things that it could do for you? One person wants to do 3D manipulation of CAT scans to be able to look at tumors and stuff before you would do surgery. So very interesting in that whole space, and we're talking to a lot of partners there. And then also, I had one lady that really wants to work on an education game for hands-on learning, sort of 4-on-1 learning for autistic children. Because some of our research has shown that by touching and actually manipulating with this direct interaction, you hold their attention much better. And so it's just fascinating to see where this is going to go. And what excites me is we've been working on this for, as I said, 6 years. This year, we get to give it out to the world and see what's going to happen with it. And I think the viral nature of this is just going to be awe-inspiring, and I can't wait to sort of give control out to the world and let them take this and run with it. And I'm very happy to have been able to share it with you guys today. So thank you very much. You want to play with it, don't you?
I do want to
You're
play
itching.
with it. How small, how light, how personal can it ultimately become? I mean, could we get to the point where you could lay it like a plasma on outerwear and you could be a walking touch screen yourself?
Yeah,
imagine all of that.
I don't know if we want that, but I will say that this is the first form factor. Think of the first cellular phone. You know, I don't know if you guys I worked at Motorola also, and you may remember that huge phone, and a lot of people got that initially. Now we all have these designer versions of what phones are. This is going to take that same kind of path. So today it is a tabletop type of a computer, but over time we have plans for, and our partners have plans for, all kinds of other form factors, vertical, getting it down to just the top of the table, and in fact maybe not even having a tabletop, but having it just be something that shows up on your existing countertop, and you're just doing it through shadows and stuff. And so the world, I think this is going to just drive to a whole new direction, and it's very exciting.
Getting us all back together again, though, as opposed to sitting off in your room and being lost on the internet.
Yeah, some of the research that we've seen is that, you know, with Web 2.0 and all the advances in technology have been great, but they're actually they're virtually getting us together and sharing, but they're actually physically very isolating. Everybody's looking at a screen. Everybody's looking at their BlackBerry, and this is, you can almost call this a digital hearth. You know, some of the things this does is it brings everybody back together and have this kind of digital experience, but physically looking at each other and having all those. I mean, we're humans. And so adding senses to computing is a good thing. And that's where we're headed with this.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Thank you. God, don't you remember the first Pong games in restaurant? I was working in a restaurant as a bartender. I loved Pong. It got a lot of people in the restaurant. Can't wait. You'll see me at the local watering holes.